I think I read the book when I was a young adult, but I was a different person then than I am now. And so, I never realized how important what he is teaching was for peace. And it's interesting because just 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, one of my sisters called me because it's St. Patrick's Day and she wanted to wish me happy St. Patrick's Day. I don't know if you're Irish, Karen, but if you are, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, part of me. I'm a lot of things.
Right. Most Americans
Just
are.
one of them.
Right. And she spontaneously told me a story about when she was, she's retired now, but what she did was she taught birth classes in a hospital. She had a company and she taught it actually at one hospital and in doctor's offices. When a couple get pregnant, they are offered the opportunity by the hospital that they plan to use as the birth center to, learn how to prepare for labor and birth and taking care of the child afterwards. So that was her business. She was a registered nurse. And she said that there was the guy that the hospital assigned to, he was a custodian, to help her set up her room, her classroom before class, was really unhappy about it. He was kind of like, I don't want to be doing this for you. And finally, it felt so uncomfortable that she said, I don't know your name. And she asked him his name. And he told her, and he was smiling when she asked him, and she told him her name too. So then they both knew each other. They knew each other's names. And when she started to call him by name, when she saw him, he became one of her supporters. He became very friendly and helped her out in times when, like, the equipment that she needed, if somebody else had taken it and not put it back. Since he was a custodian, he was all over the building. And so he could always find it and make sure that she had it for class. And, that they liked each other once they had learned each other's names, that was the turning point. And instead of, having to feel like this guy hated her and the fact that he had to work to get ready for her class, he changed totally and was happy to see her, and she was happy to see him. And, she worked there for years. So it became a good friendship. And it was all sparked by asking him his name.
That's a good story.
It was a good story. It was like, holy cow, this is perfect timing. So, and it's one of the principles that, Carnegie has referred to several times. Smile at people, use their name, and especially in the situation that we're talking about now, where you feel like arguing with the other person. You feel like you and the other person don't see eye to eye, as it were. That's a good expression. Don't agree on very many things. Don't share a whole lot of awareness, right? That's, I don't know how other ways of saying that would be, but don't see eye to eye is what came to me as the expression. Can you think of any others, Karen?
No, I think that's a good one.
Okay.
See eye to eye. It kind of implies that, there's more to it than just a verbal exchange.
Right. Yeah. It's an interesting expression, actually. I'm
Yes.
picturing what that would look like physically.
Face
See
to
eye
face.
to eye. Huh, Abu?
Face to face, isn't it good?
Being face to face, what that means is that you are in the presence of the other person. But if you don't see eye to eye, it means that you fundamentally disagree with the other person. You're not you're not on the same side of things.
Yes,
It might be about politics, might be about goals, who knows what it's about, doesn't matter. But being face to face is a neutral term. It just means you're in the presence of each other. Whereas not seeing eye to eye has a negative, a contentious, a confrontational aspect to it. That's somebody that you at least want to argue with, whether you've actually done it or not. So anyway, there are people that we don't see eye to eye with. Often there are at least a couple of people in our families, in our extended families, sometimes in-laws, people that are part of your family because they married somebody that you're related to. That's an in-law. Possibly people that are from someplace different than you are, or from a different cultural tradition than you are. There's a lot of differences between people. And not being able to see eye to eye with somebody feels, like there's not much you can do about it. Like you're always going to be arguing with them. But what Dale Carnegie was saying in chapter 3 was, no, it may feel that way, but the fact is that when you are in an argument situation, what did he say about it? First of all, we talked about this last week.
You never disagree.
Yeah, it's not worth arguing about anything with anybody because you will never win. That's an important awareness. So then in chapter 3, he gives a whole bunch of principles for how do you actually manage to work with the person that you don't agree with without having an argument. It's an art. It's an important skill. So I don't know if either of you have actually had a chance to reread that portion of the book, but he has several principles. And I'm just going to go through them. So the first principle is just avoid arguments. There's no way to win them, ever. And that's an absolute truth. So what do you do if you can't argue? This person is still a member of your family. This person is still on your work team. This person is still your boss. This person is, you still have to deal with them. And arguing just isn't going to work. So the first thing is never say to another person, you are wrong. Just don't. So when Carnegie was writing in the 30s, in the 1930s, which was a long time ago, people hadn't really learned yet the power of taking a positive approach to things. So everything was expressed in don't do this, don't do that, don't do the other thing. It's how my parents brought me up. It's all negative. Don't. Right?
Right.
Abu, I don't know if that was true for you.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So, but now we've learned, a lot of people have learned that, okay, that's not the way to do it. That doesn't work very well to tell people don't. It's much more effective and more enjoyable as well to figure out, okay, so what is the positive? So if the commandment is don't tell somebody else they are wrong, what are you supposed to do? How do you begin to find something positive that you can follow in the conversation? He says, show respect for the other person's opinions. How do you do that?
Well, you can just say, I respect what you say, and maybe you have an idea on it that is the same or similar to that person's idea. We're not usually diametrically opposed, although sometimes we are.
Yeah, sometimes we are.
So yeah, that's right. I can think of a situation right now.
Care to share?
Oh, well, we have a family text, and for some time, and the politics is evenly divided in the family, and one half of the family says really, they air their opinions on one side of the politics, and it's usually not very nice. It really isn't. It surprises me. But the other half says nothing. And so this morning I thought, okay, how can I say in a positive way that this is causing division, or it can cause division in us? And we don't want that. Nobody wants that. But then I was thinking in my mind how the reaction to that would be, no matter how I said it, I couldn't think of a way. It would still not be taken. It would be, oh, there's righteous Karen. No matter how I said it,
Right.
it just there didn't seem to be a right way. Even if I said, we all have our opinions and our perspectives, and so I started using Carnegie's principles, but it got to be real long.
Yeah.
So I didn't finish it, but anyway.
Okay. Well, that's good that you've been working on that. That's cool.
I did. I erased it real quickly because I was afraid I would send it.
Yep. Okay. So basically, if you never say you're wrong, the only other possibility is you're going to have to say what?
Right.
What are you going to have to say? What's the only thing left?
Well, you can say, I disagree, and I hope that we can agree to disagree.
That's possible.
There
Right.
are other things about our relationship that are
Right.
we want to keep intact.
Mm-hmm. You can do better than that, though.
Well, I
mean,
can't hammer them over the head by text. No, I'm kidding.
Right. If you can't say to somebody, you're wrong,
You say you're right.
You're gonna have to find a way, right? Exactly. You're gonna have to find a way to say, you're right.
Mhm.
So the art is, how do you find a way to say to that person, you're right?
Believe it or not, I mulled over that one.
Mhm. There will be a way, but you got to do something different to get there. You got to learn more. I mean, think about people, think about yourself. You always think you're right, don't you?
Yes, sometimes we think that we are right, but not every day.
Okay.
Yes.
It's good to be aware that we're not always right. But when we say something, when we do something, we're doing it because we think it's the right thing to do. Nobody does something thinking, oh, this is terrible. This is absolutely the wrong thing to do. But I'm going to do it anyway. That's not the way humans think. Just think about it. I mean, I've been told that I was wrong, and I was. And how did I feel when somebody told me that? Oh my God, I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I kind of felt angry at the person who told me, even though they were right, because they hurt my feelings. It was not fun to be told I was wrong. And there have been times when I've been told it and I was. And I realized it. And I had to come back and say, I realized that I was wrong. And I apologize. I did not mean to hurt whoever I hurt when I did that. Because the problem is, of course, that we've hurt somebody and they feel bad. They feel angry. They feel sad. They feel ashamed, just like I can easily feel. And that's the other thing to be aware of is everybody, no matter what their external way of coping is, everybody does what they do because they think it's the right thing to do in the circumstances. That's where your disagreement is, obviously. You don't think it's the right thing to do, they do. So basically, you've got conflicting opinions going on. And the answer is you got to learn more about the other person and what's going on with them. How do you do that?
Ask questions and listen to their perspective and think about why,
Right.
or ask them why they feel that way or think that way.
And you got to do it in a way that they know that you really do respect them. This is not, you're not trying to find another way to hurt them, because people get very defensive when they think that, you're just trying to find a weak spot. So the first thing to do is to help the other person to believe that you really are interested in them and what's going on with them. And then you can ask, okay, so tell me about, what's happening here? I don't understand. And when I have learned that when I just keep asking people, really? Tell me more about that. Oh, yeah, that could make some sense. Tell me more. Just keep them talking until you understand where they're coming from and what they're trying to achieve. What do they want to come out of the situation? And at that point, you can offer a suggestion that and say, okay, so what would happen if, and offer them a positive suggestion that might help get them out of, what they now know because you've been asking about it is maybe questionable. And you will find that people have doubts about themselves. Everybody does. They may not show it. They may overcompensate. They may bluster and seem aggressive and bully. But in fact, everybody questions themselves. Just know that no matter what their outer demeanor is, everybody is uncertain of themselves somewhere. Might be a very little spot, but somewhere. And wants to be acknowledged and wants to be told, oh, that's good. You're right. And you just have to you just have to learn enough about what they're feeling and what they're thinking to find a place where you agree with them, where you understand what they're thinking and what they're feeling, where you can acknowledge to them what they're feeling. It's really feelings that people need to be acknowledged in, not their thoughts, but their feelings. So basically, it sounds really simple. Just find out what they're feeling. And the way you do that is the principles are be sure your attitude and your manner and your words make it clear that you honor them, you respect them. You know that they're a good person. You care about what they feel. You really want to know. So you understand. And you do that. You use their name. You keep them doing most of the talking. Keep asking questions. Just keep them talking until they start asking you questions. Then they're done. But somewhere along the line, you will find, you'll resonate with something about them. You'll understand something about how they're feeling and what they're struggling with. And that's where you can begin to say, oh yeah, I understand that feeling, because you will. We all have the same feelings. That's where we are one, is in our feelings. Our thoughts are all over the place, but our feelings are shared. And last time we talked about that, I think, didn't we? What the feelings are?
Mm-hmm.
There aren't very many.
Yeah.
There are hundreds of words for them, but basically it boils down to a very few feelings. What are they?
Scared. Oh gosh, what were they? I think about emotion rather than feeling.
Okay, whatever.
But scared was one of them.
Scared was one of them. Yes, very definitely. That's a feeling. The first three rhymed.
Yes, they did.
Ad is the ending.
I'm just drawing a blank for some reason.
Okay, the first one is mad.
Yes.
Okay, and then what?
Sad and glad.
Mad, sad, glad. Right. Yep. So the first three rhyme. Once you remember that, okay, then there's others that don't rhyme. And the next one, the first one that doesn't rhyme is scared. And then there's
Hmm.
anybody? Mad, sad, glad, scared.
Come on and help me out.
Yeah, right. One of them is ashamed, afraid, ashamed,
Embarrassed.
embarrassed. I think they put that with ashamed. It could be either embarrassed or ashamed. They're very similar. Thank you. And another one that we didn't talk about, but is considered to be a separate, independent feeling, is surprised. We didn't talk about that last week, but that is different from the others. So when you're coming down to a list of basic feelings, it's important to know what the possibilities are. You can use whatever word you want, but basically, those are the feelings. Because very often, when people are not really in the habit of feeling their feelings, somebody will ask you, well, how do you feel about that? And you will tell us how you think about it. You'll give us a judgment about the feeling, but that's not the feeling. And there aren't very many answers for how do you feel about that? And it's important to know how you feel about that because that's our doorway to understanding everybody, to peace. Peace comes when we understand what the other person is feeling. And if we don't understand that, it's very hard to find peace. So it's the list of feelings is as basic to being able to make peace as is Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, which is a little more complex than the list of feelings. But that's the other thing we need to understand about people in order to tell them, yes, I understand that. Yes, I know. I have been there. I know how terrible that must feel. And, how do you think? You can stop. You can move past feeling angry, feeling mad or sad or glad. Hi, Brian. Good to see you. I don't think we've met before, have we?
No. That's the first time I got in this meeting because every day I had a new different things to do, and today I had free time and I just saw the link and I decided to get in.
All right. So tell us, where are you?
I'm from Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Okay. You speak English pretty well.
Yeah, thank you. I've studied very much.
Yes. How long have you studied English?
Oh, I started in 2011 until nowadays.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, your English is very easy to understand.
Oh, thank you very
Congratulations.
much. Thank you.
Yep. So I don't know, are you registered on Living Peace now?
No, live in peace. No, no. I have, heard you about talking about it, and I think it's very nice.
Yeah, so register on the site. And what we're doing is, that there you can help other people to learn English if you'd like. When you get to a certain level, that's the best way to keep learning,
Yeah.
is to help somebody else. So,
Actually, I have, I am in a study group. I have
mhm,
a study group
good,
where I teach other, peers, the basic and in the intermediate level of
good,
English.
excellent. Um, One of the other, let's the rest of us introduce ourselves to Brian.
Mm.
Abu, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I already talked to Brian.
Oh, you already met Brian. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because
he-
you guys really, I think, may have a lot in common.
yes, I I know him.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm Rosemary. I'm the crazy person that had the idea for Live in Peace now, and I'm thoroughly enjoying meeting everybody. And Karen,
And I'm Karen, and I'm from Durham, North Carolina. And it's nice to meet you, Brian.
Nice to meet you too.
so basically the way we've organized Live in Peace now is everybody needs to learn more about how to create peace inside and around them.
Mhm.
And, to know other people from other cultures, to begin to understand people worldwide.
One
As,
one thing you one thing you said that really, triggers my mind was to beginning to understand their feelings, so that comes to me like a we need to practice empathy. you know
exactly, yes,
yes, empathy is to put on your someone's shoes someone's shoes, to try to feel think and understand their side. And I actually, for the past I'm sorry, and everybody has jogging inside the house. Oh my God. So
I'm surprised you're
just a
not
little
waking up my,
minute.
I'm surprised they're not waking up my dogs.
This way,
What kind of a dog is it?
it's every time someone goes through around my house, he barks every time.
Yep.
We
Because
like
here,
dogs.
Yeah.
some parts of Brazil, we have open, just like in US, we have open yards like that.
Right.
So we here in my neighborhood, people, like little kids likes to, walk around and run.
Okay.
So
So,
my
so you
dog.
never know who's going to arrive. That's cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
back in the empathy, I was talking
Yes.
about, understanding people's side. That's one of the exercise that I've been, practicing every time.
Excellent. Because that is the basic awareness that
Yes.
we need to cultivate to live peacefully,
Yeah.
and to know that we all people, and actually many animals also, have
That's so bad.
oh my gosh, have the same feelings,
Yeah.
and when we're feeling what the other person is feeling, that's oneness. And that is one of our abilities as beings, as people, as awareness, as conscious beings, is to understand how the universe is one. And so when we're in the argument or the fight framework, we're not seeing that.
Yeah.
And like I said, this guy that wrote this book and came up with all these principles really well. Wrote the book 85 years ago. It's been a bestseller ever since then, which is amazing.
What's the author?
It's Dale Carnegie.
Dale
And
Carnegie.
the book is called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah,
And
people have asked, recommend this book to me. So that's my book list.
yep. Okay. So right now you got a chance to
Yeah.
to learn something about it. It is posted on our Living Peace Now website, right, with this discussion. So you can download it and read it.
Yeah.
And we are in the middle of chapter 3, where we're talking about Carnegie's point is don't ever start or engage in an argument because you cannot win. Period,
Yeah.
exclamation point, end of story.
Yeah.
And so now what we're talking about is, okay, so if you can't argue, you still got to connect, you still got to communicate, you still got to live next to the people that you would be in an argument with. What do you do?
Yeah, because people here in Brazil, people, there is some, subject here in Brazil that people are, kind of lack of knowing, some subjects. So, for example, in my point, you know, in my point of view, sometimes back when I was talking about my personal, knowledge about it because I'm going to talk about politics. That here in Brazil, something is very hard to talk.
Yeah,
So back in years ago, I, wasn't much aware of politics and how it works, in the way that it works here in Brazil. So I decided to, study a little more, get to know about it, how it works, how everything, how each part, takes their part, it works, and everything else. So I decided, in some parts that comes to philosophy. So philosophy, you need to study about, lines of ideas, how it works, how people, think and everything. So that's, brings me this practice of study things that you don't know yet, but you need to study if you need to participate in some discussion,
yes, right.
like you said, but at the time I didn't, get into a conversation that, I didn't know anything about it. So I decided to go and learn and study about it so I could, talk.
So are you a student now?
Yes, I study everything. For example, my way of studying today, I finished my high school. So since then, the way I study today, as I have internet right now, when I have something that I am very interesting, I, open my internet. So search for it, books, videos on internet,
Right.
an author of books. So everything I, running for it and, study everything about this, subject.
Right. Good. Excellent. Do you have a trade or a profession or career yet?
Oh, yeah, since I left my high school, I didn't have, such a standard standard career. So I work like, many jobs, different jobs. Right now I'm working as a bartender.
Ah,
And
hey, that pays
but
well.
yeah, so and but I keep studying. Right now I'm
Good.
studying how to, in US we call media buyer. It's
Okay,
yeah,
excellent.
that's someone, it's manage ads on the internet.
Uh-huh.
So it's a new,
Hmm.
like we are always saying, always talking about education and
Right.
everything. It's a new career that's being created to the future.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes.
Wonderful. So someday, I think we need to get back to the topic of the class, but it would be interesting for me, I would be interested in learning more about what does a media buyer do? I mean, I've got a vague idea, but it's very vague. So,
Yes, it works a lot with social medias and everything else.
okay. So, uh, I think one of the things about Living Peace Now, we're a collaborative group. So we're helping each other to learn about peace and to learn other cultures and other languages and to become friends across languages and across cultures. Because
Yeah,
once we have friends that are from a very different place and a very different origin than we are, we begin to realize that, oh, other people in the world are fascinating and, you know, we're all people. And
yeah,
so the whole idea of, well, there are enemies, anybody's our enemy, becomes more and more untenable, more and more crazy. And that's what we're aiming for. That's the purpose of this website. So we're asking our participants, our members, it's not a membership organization, but those that are working with us, how you can help out, how you can help us to get to that goal. And some people are helping by teaching other people their language. Some people are helping organizationally. And, we are an internet organization. Some people are contributing money. It's what everybody is easiest for everybody. We all have something we can give in return for what we receive. And the more we engage in that way, the more we get out of the whatever we're engaging in.
yeah,
So you've experienced that, I'm sure, with your study group, that the more present you are, the more helpful you are in the study group, the more you are getting out of it.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a
I
basic
am.
principle. That's how the world works.
Yeah, I actually need to, go through a little more about this initiative.
Mhm.
Open. I'm gonna, for certain, I'm gonna work to look in the website, to get to know more about it a little
Yeah.
bit.
And when you're on the website, register. It's free. And then you can attend different classes. We use classes like this for people as they're getting better in the second or third language that they want to use as the immersion part, as the conversation part.
Yeah,
So we're all learning more about, who we are as human beings, but how to be our highest selves.
yeah.
And at the same time, we're practicing the language.
Yeah,
So I look forward to getting to know you better
yes, I'm too.
and to, having you be a part of this fun.
Yes, I think
Uh, goal,
somehow
vision.
I can help in some
I'm
way.
sure there's somehow you can help. And, at some point,
Yeah,
you'll get an awareness of it.
okay,
And like I said, it's fun. Enjoy.
okay.
Okay.
Karen?
So coming back to avoiding arguments.
Okay, avoiding arguments.
Yeah, I'm on page 121 of my edition, the one I have of this book. It has been published so many times in 85 years that there must be hundreds of different books. And this is what mine looks like for what it's worth. It doesn't matter, but they're all formatted differently. So the pages are different, the chapters are even different. And, so whatever version you have, this will be in it somewhere. It's toward the end, 2/3 of the way through. Principle 4 is start the conversation in a friendly way. In other words, the other person that you could be arguing with, make it clear that, you want to understand them. You want to know what their experience is. You want to have compassion with them, which is not at all the same thing as sympathy. Compassion means you respect, you understand, you honor who they are as a person. And you want to know them and appreciate them. So begin with the intention, with the awareness that, okay, right now it seems like we have nothing in common, but I know that we do, and I want to find out what it is. And I want to be your friend. So, previously, one of his big principles was, remember this one? Smile.
Yeah.
Smile, call the person by name. Don't ever say someone else is wrong. This was the one we talked about today. This is so basic, and we don't do it. But if we study it and we understand these simple, basic, obvious ways of building good relationships really work.
Yeah.
And this is an incredible skill that is very, very much appreciated in workplaces, in families, in organizations, in every place, in offices. The person who knows these principles is incredibly valuable, because when people are at odds, another nice English expression, when they don't see eye to eye, that's I knew there were more good expressions. When people are hostile to each other, things don't go along very well. Hostility, anger, sadness, shame, they really mess up how things work. They slow things down. They make them difficult. And when we are being friendly, when we are, skillfully being friendly, it helps things to harmonize and to get into a flow and to work well. And everybody enjoys them. So that's what everybody wants underneath whatever they say they want. Like I said, in feelings, we are all one. We can understand each other's feelings because we all have them for the same reasons. So have the other person do most of the talking. Ask questions, ask easy questions, ask questions that show that you sincerely want to understand. No, so tell me a little bit about what's going on with you in this situation. You know, get them talking about themselves. Brian, before you came on, I shared a story that my sister had told me on the phone just before this class. She was talking about when she was working before she retired. And there was a guy who was in charge of keeping, the building clean and also setting up the equipment that she needed to teach her class. It was in a hospital. It was for couples that were expecting kids, and it was about childbirth. So that was her work. She was a registered nurse. And this guy that was in charge of all the classrooms, he would come in and he'd turn on the lights and he was grumpy and unhappy and, obviously felt like she was causing him a lot of work. And he just, didn't want to be there. And it made her feel bad too. And so one day she said, we've been doing this together for several months now. I don't know your name. What's your name? And the guy smiled. And he told her his name, and she introduced herself and told him her name, and they shook hands. And she said, from then on, they knew how to say to each other, "Hi, Joe, good to see you." It was so basic, so simple, but it changed the whole feeling of working together. And they, she stayed there for a long time, and so did he. So they worked together in this way over many years, and they got to think of each other as friends. And so, she said one day she arrived and the television set that she needed for her class wasn't there, and she had no idea where it was. And so she asked the guy, who was now her friend, if he had seen it anyplace, and he thought, and he said, "Yeah, I think I did see that one place." And he found it for her. And so she was able to teach the class that she'd prepared when otherwise it would have been really, disastrous for her. And she really appreciated that he was willing to help her out in that way. And so they built, a good relationship just out of that simple act of, "What's your name? I want to know your name." And that is one of Carnegie's basic principles. Use the other person's name. Pay attention to what their name is. You have to pay attention to learn somebody's name. That means you care. And people appreciate when we care. So principle 5 in this chapter is get the other person saying yes. In other words, find where you and that other person have similar feelings so that you can agree on something. You can establish compassion. And then the conversation will go much more easily. Principle 6 is let the other person do most of the talking. That is absolutely anti-argument, isn't it? When we're arguing with somebody else, we try to cut them off. Don't let them talk. And when they are talking, we're thinking about what we're going to say next. So we don't pay any attention to what they say. So this is the anti-argument path. Instead of thinking how we're going to contradict what we're going to say in response to what the other person is saying, think about what you'd like to know more about what they're saying, because as you learn how they're feeling, you're getting closer and closer to finding the place where you can say, you are right. instead of, no, you're wrong. Because that's what an argument is saying you're wrong. And the antidote is to find where you can say with the other person, you're right. Yes, I agree with that. Once you get that point of agreement, it's amazing how the whole atmosphere of your being together with the other person has changed. And so, and I have experienced this when I've followed this protocol and gotten to the place where we agree. The other person begins to think of possible solutions, possible ways to get out of whatever the argument is about. And you know what? There aren't that many ways. And so when they start thinking from a place of agreement with you, whatever they come up with is going to be reasonable for you, because now they know you have feelings too. So they're going to be thinking about, okay, how do we create what is called in business win-win? And a win-win is never a compromise. A win-win is a place higher up in awareness than where the argument was. And there are always higher up places. There are always places where you can agree, and you need to go higher in the hierarchy of ideas to find a way to fulfill both of your objectives, which you've now figured out with each other, are basically the same. You found the point of agreement. So that is the art of avoiding an argument and creating a better solution. Okay? I am going to, another one that's really good is appeal to the other person's higher motives. We all want to be better. We all want to make a difference in the world. We all want to make a positive. We want to be remembered as, wow, a great person.
Mm-hmm.
So any way that, as you're working toward a solution, that you can appeal to the other person's desire to be seen as a powerfully good person. Now, bringing that up and encouraging them to think that way is a good process. And basically what you end up with is a situation where, because you and the other person have found your point of agreement, you can collaborate. You can work together toward the same goal. That's transformational. That is very, very powerful. So I'm going to ask you over this next week, please look over these principles, this process of magically turning a disagreement into a collaboration in a situation, could be a little situation in your own life right now, where you would really like to be on the same side as another person.
Yeah.
Have a conversation where you use these principles. And it's always very basically about understanding and honoring and appreciating the other person and letting them know that you do.
Yeah.
That is incredibly powerful. So, can I ask you to pay some attention to that over the next week? Think about, right now, can be a little conflict, or it can be a big one, I don't care. but a place where you'd enjoy finding out more about the other person and figuring out where your point of agreement with that other person is. And the place where you can both work together to solve whatever your disagreement is about.
Yeah.
And for practice, it's good if you pick something little. You know, not something that's been going on for generations and has become a family feud, which will take more than a little conversation to resolve. So
Yeah.
pick something simple.
I used to watch a series on Netflix that the name is Suits. Have you ever seen it?
I don't know, spell it.
Suits. Suits. Suits.
Suits, yes. I have watched that.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's my favorite,
Yep.
favorite series.
Yes.
So most of the things that you have,
You're right. Yes.
talking about
Yeah.
was
Are exemplified.
exemplifying, you were talking and I was, watching this scene in my head.
Yes.
So that's amazing. Everything that you have,
Mhm.
spoken,
Yep.
yeah, I was watching this scene in my mind, Harvey,
Very good.
on
Meghan Markle was on that, wasn't she?
what?
Wasn't Meghan Markle
Yes, Meghan
a
Markle was
character on that program?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's a very good example. And they're,
He opened
watching it is fun. But
he
I'm asking you to take it beyond that and find a little opportunity for yourself to play with this, to practice it, to, see how it goes, to see what obstacles you run up against and where you may, derail it.
yeah.
And let's talk about it next week.
Okay.
Okay? You
Mhm.
free next week too at this time?
Yeah. Same day?
Same day, same time.
Okay. Okay. I'm done with
Okay, that'll be fun.
it.